So I have a bit of a question, well, a couple of questions for you this morning. And, today's episode, I think is going to be a little bit different, but let me start off with these questions that I've got for you. And the first one is, are you still measuring production and revenue and turnover in a sense that that's your main measure of success? I guess that's the question. Is this what you celebrate? Is this what you post and share on social media to say, oh, we've had our best month ever and we've done this and we've done that, but it's all really monetary based. If that is still what we are doing, then I am really concerned about where this is going. And today I want to talk about that. And I want to share some other metrics that we can use that might be a much better long-term measure for success and that will result in the growth and sustainability of our practices. So it's very important to realize that things have changed, and our measures can't stay the same. They've got to change as well. So looking forward to today's episode. Good morning. Warm welcome. If you're watching the recording, a warm welcome to you as well. Really appreciate you checking out the episode after it's aired. It means a lot to us. And we hope that all of you are going to get great value today. Today is a little bit, maybe, I don't know, like it might be in your face. It might not be in your face. It might be comforting. It might be motivating. It might be inspiring. Or it might be like, Francois, go to the place that's hotter than South Africa. So that all depends on your mindset and how you're going to view this. But let's see. I don't know what to expect today. I know what I want to talk about. I know what I want to share with you and sort of new thoughts and ideas that I want to leave with you, because we've been doing things in a certain way for so long that we hardly ever stand still and just realize like, whoa, yeah, we know things are changing. We know things are moving along, but like I'm still doing the same stuff I did before. And then I wonder why suddenly things are not growing, why things are not moving, why maybe I'm not getting new clients, why maybe I'm losing clients in the process. So this is something that I want to get into today. But I'm not alone as usual. I'm joined by Nikki McDonald from the FBI this morning for current affairs. We have Norma, who's going to talk about finding and using my voice to promote personal growth. And isn't that something that most of us struggle with? It's just finding our own voice. There's something inside, but we don't know how to bring it out. How do we find a voice and how do we have the courage to speak up? So really looking forward to Norma's session today. Then I have some quick announcements and then we'll get into today's episode. So today's episode, the main segment is going to be a bit longer, so we don't have a third segment because there's loads that I would like to talk about. All right, so with that, let me say a warm good morning to the people who on this long weekend in South Africa is, here live with us. So good morning, Mr. Mark, hope you are doing well. And it's a glorious day, lekker man. I must say it's a beautiful day here in Joburg as well. So good morning, Terence. Hope you're all lekker. Yes, I'm definitely lekker. It's a good week of sleep. I'm making a point to sleep better. So I'm feeling much better. And so that's it. Ferdy, goeiemôre daar in Bloemfontein. Hoop het gaan goed. Kobus, good morning. Fantastic long weekend. Love the new fresh flag that you added to, or you took down the old one and then put on the new fresh one that's nice and colorful. So good stuff. Francis, good morning. Altyd lekker in Benoni. So that Lalani May also says so. Wayne, good morning, my friend. I had a good breakfast with you in the week. That was awesome. Good morning, Rizan. Nice to see you. Môre Nantes. Hoop het gaan goed daar by jou. Kavendra, good morning. Wow, it's been a while, my friend. Good morning. And Johan Plumeres, a very old friend of mine. So good morning. Warm welcome to all of you. Right. Ladies and gents, let's get into this episode today. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And let's hear what's on the cards today.
Good morning, everybody, on this long weekend. Unfortunately, some of us do not have a long, long weekend and have to work, but we have to keep the economy going somehow. So, and I am one of the unlucky ones who did not plan properly. But let's get into it. Now, firstly, back to Mirror Trading International. It's always interesting to follow these schemes and see how long it takes to actually end up at a place where people can maybe start getting some money back. So, in the last week, the Western Cape High Court has declared Mirror Trading International a Ponzi scheme, as we all knew, but now it's on paper and legal. And all agreements with its roughly 200,000 members was void from the onset. Now, this MTI, if you don't know, was declared the world's largest crypto scam after in 2020 after it lured global investors with promises of 10% gains a month using a bot to trade Forex. And it turned out to be fictitious, and there was no evidence of any successful bot trading found. The court dismissed in the same application the liquidator's request to have MTI declared factually insolvent since 2019. And they also refused the liquidator's request to approach the court to recover winnings from specific investors. However, now that it's been declared a Ponzi scheme, um, MTI and the liquidators can speed the recovery of winners of funds from winners in the scheme. So those are people who withdrew more money than they put in. So all that money can be claimed back. The one clear winner in this, though, is SARS. They lodged a 931 million claim for unpaid taxes against MTI. And the irony of it is the chances that there will be anything left over once SARS is paid out is very small. So for your ordinary concurrent creditors, it's actually not good news. Just shows you once again, no one wins in a Ponzi scheme. And if we can just do some more education to ensure people don't get caught in something like this, yeah, life would be much better for most South Africans. So then I found two American studies that are quite interesting to financial planners. The first one is a Morningstar study. Now, this was done in the US. So I think in South Africa, the numbers might look a little bit different, but let's look at what they say. Only 6% of clients there ever fire an advisor, which suggests doing so is a relatively rare occurrence. However, I think what we can take away from this is the three reasons that they do fire advisors. The first one is where the client cites poor quality of financial advice and services or poor quality of the relationship as the primary driver of their breakup. And I think this links to what Francois was going to discuss today. It is not the lackluster financial returns that people really care about, and that's not necessarily where they fire their advisor. It is rather when an advisor doesn't devote enough time to understand who their client is as a person or their personal financial needs and goals. The second one had to do with fees, and it linked to the fact that the client could not necessarily understand what they were paying for. So, cost is important to consider no matter the service involved. Ensure that your costs mirror your service and communicate the value in the cost and the value in the service as such. And the last reason why financial advisors in this study was fired is because the advisor is a lousy communicator. And this has to do with education. Finance can be confusing, and it's part of our advisor's job to explain concepts and strategies simply to their clients so they understand. Bad communication can also link to things like being out of touch for long periods of time, not doing things you promise, over promising, and recommending things you don't, the client don't understand and are unable to explain. And then the last study that I did find quite funny was a conversation that, or a study that they did about conversations about money issues with a whole bunch of Americans. This was this report or the study was done by Empower. I have not heard of them before, but they did the study. So money talks, apparently, according to the study, have the potential to help build generational wealth, according to 66% of the respondents. They queried 2,000 Americans who were 18 and older to get their views. So 62% that honest that honest talks about money could improve the gender wealth gap. 56% believe it would improve workplace transparency. However, 62% of the respondents don't talk about money. 63% don't discuss it with their family, and 75% with their friends, 46% with their spouse or partner. They would rather discuss politics, talk about death, and would rather be in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, I can, in all honesty, say that I would more or less do anything than be in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles. And the last comment on this article that I found extremely interesting, only 1/3 of Americans have spoken to a financial advisor, compared to 71 who have bought a lottery ticket. 1 in 4 millennials who get financial advice from wait for it, fortune teller. And while 28% of people know the net worth of Elon Musk, only 24% know their own family's precise wealth, this study found. So I think there's a few takeaways from this. The Americans are a bit nuts. And please do not get your financial advice from a fortune teller. Although you might get better advice than investing it in a Ponzi scheme. So on that note, have a wonderful long weekend and spend it well and rest. We are all working hard and this year has flown by. Thank you very much, Francois.
That put a big smile on my face. Thank you very much, Nikki. Yes, so many places. I mean, my dad sent me something yesterday that looks very legitimate, and I said, like, no, I won't go near that stuff because, like, there's no way that the people they say are involved because, you know, they would not be holding them. They are too busy with other things. They would not associate themselves with things, and in fact, they don't need things like that. So that's not the way that they would go about raising money. So, yeah, it's some of these things that can look very legitimate today, but they're not. So, yeah, be aware of those Ponzi schemes and let's educate our clients. With that, we're going to have Norma, and Norma is talking about finding your voice. So let's hear what she has for us this morning. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Exciting topic as always today. I want to talk about how we find and use our voice. So I think this is something important for us, and especially when it comes to our personal growth and further self-development. I want to start off by giving you the story about Rosa Parks in 1955. She was on a bus in Alabama, and she refused to give up her seat to a fellow bus member. And I think what she did there was she refused to give up her seat, and that made her famous at the end of the day. I think clearly she used her voice. She clearly had a voice, and then she used it in that instance. And I think, just to give you a bit of background on that, is Rosa Parks is the woman on the bus, and she was an African-American woman. And in those days, those people, or African-American people, were, it's almost like expected to give up their seats to their white counterparts. And the day that she refused to give up her seat, that's the day where she actually became famous. Now, you know, that story is told throughout the world. And I think it's quite an interesting one, because it shows us that Rosa had a voice, but also so she initiated change. And that's what I think I want to maybe talk about today, because a lot of people are so scared of using their voice. But I think if we find our voice, we discover our voice, it is almost our obligation to share that voice with the world. So let's just quickly see what exactly do I mean by finding my voice. So I think it has two parts. So the first part is the discovery of, you know, your voice. And that is when we start asking ourselves the questions: who am I? What do I stand for? And also, what is the value that I offer the world? The other part of it is the expression of it. So that's the part where we speak and we also communicate, you know, what we've discovered. I think when it comes to there's barriers when we think about finding or using our voice. There's a lot of reasons why people don't want to use their voice. And I'm just going to give you a couple that came up for me. I think it's cultural and societal conditioning. We maybe grew up, hearing that, kids should be seen and not heard. And now we take that into adulthood. I think maybe lack of confidence keeps us from using our voice. Also, when we haven't had a lot of experiencing, expressing ourselves, then it might hold us back a little bit. I think fear of judgment, maybe fear of not fitting in. And also, I think to avoid conflict, a lot of times we just decide, no, we don't want to go there. But I want to give you today a whole lot of reasons and the upside of actually finding your voice and then also using it, and how it can help us to personally grow, but also in further self-development. So I think the number one reason why we should do it is for the reason that it brings self-awareness, because we have to do all of that work of self-discovery, asking ourselves those difficult questions, but also answering them. Like I mentioned earlier, the who am I? What do I stand for? What do I value? What's important to me? So we have to actually sit down and start thinking about all these things. Then secondly, it gives us confidence, because surely if I know who I am and I have something to say, I'm going to go out there and say it. And it's going to make me so much, make me feel empowered. Another reason it improves our communication, because now that I can express myself, I keep doing it. My communication gets clear and more effective. I also start seeing improvements in the relationships, because now that I know that what I stand for, it's like what I say and what I do is so in alignment that people, start seeing and trusting me as the person that does what they say. I also think it opens up new opportunities for us. Because now that we have found this way of expressing ourselves, maybe we can express it in a new way, maybe through art or through music writing, or whatever whatever feels good to you. We can also start moving into more leadership positions. So now that we found our voice, maybe we can help and encourage others to do the same. And also, I think we can become advocates. So we can either start our own communities, or we can join communities where we, are an advocate for what we believe in. And then lastly, just it builds resilience. Because again, if I have something to say, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, then I'm not going to let setbacks and challenges keep me from getting my message out there. So just in closing, I think it's important for us to find our voice and then using that voice, and also when and how we feel appropriate and comfortable. But not to, obviously we want to take ourselves out of our comfort zone, but we don't have to always be loud and arrogant. When we think about using our voice, we can do it the same as Rosa did, and, just no might be a good way to, use my voice. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you for being here. I'll be back.
Thank you very much, Norma. And with that, we're getting to the quick announcements. So let's do that. Alrighty, so just a couple of quick announcements. This morning's show is going nice and quick, and let's hear just a couple of things. Obviously, top of mind for me and for hopefully many of you is the upcoming Global Financial Planning Conference taking place on the 16th and 17th of May. It is a spectacle, in a good sense, of the most amazing speakers that has gone through our International Speaker and Influencer program. But I can't do it as well as both Rosanna and myself. So let me share that message with you again, just what to expect and why you should get a ticket today and not wait any longer.
The Global Financial Planning Conference is back. It's happening on 16 and 17 May. An amazing virtual experience on a global scale that's unique as the speakers we have.
Last year, we had over 1,200 people attend this amazing event from across the globe, specifically from South Africa. We had over 450 people last year. We've got 10-minute slide-free talks, new ideas, thought-provoking ideas. Everybody that's speaking at this conference has gone through the International Speaker and Influencer Program. Every year, it's just blown our minds. And then if you really want to elevate your business, you want to jot down practical, powerful, impactful takeaways, it's 2 days of energy, insights, inspiration, and thought-provoking ideas.
It's absolutely amazing. The momentum has grown year on year. More excitement, more amazing talks coming out. This year, we've also got a day of CPD. We've got an amazing platform, incredible, immersive, interactive experience, inviting all of you.
If you have a team of people, book for them on the website. If you just want to get a ticket for yourself, you're more than welcome to do that as well. 349 Rand. You can get them at propulsion.co.za/GFPT23.
I'm just going to reiterate, if you're a financial planner that wants to elevate your practice and you want to connect with peers and like-minded individuals, this is the place to be. And this is one of the conferences of the year on the calendar not to miss. We look forward to seeing you there.
See you there. Alrighty, so we better see you there. It's going to be amazing. Propulsion Pro members, they have a ticket to attend this. If you're not a member, you can consider becoming a member. And on the note of Propulsion, I want to share with you just a little bit what we're busy with in terms of a program we're running in the community called Financial Planning Tools and Techniques. We had an incredible last 2 modules. It's a 8-module program. We're on module 6 already. And in the last 2, we've had Steve Martin as our special guest, and getting all into really asking effective questions. But this last one that we did on Thursday, yesterday, was all on deepening the understanding, which was an incredible session. And there were some incredible things. We challenged some of the most well-known, sort of, call it, what's the word, like processes or questions or frameworks that's out there. And we really dug deep into them, because I think one of the things that happens and that's really dangerous is when we pick up something on a blog or an article, or we watch a 2-minute video clip, and then we want to try and use that in our businesses. So there's so much that goes into this, and we're running this program very effectively. Next week, we're doing learning to truly listen. So that's going to be an exciting next module for that as well. And there's loads of other things we do in Propulsion. So if you are not a member, please go check it out. The links are down below in the description, and do consider becoming a member. And from that point, you're obviously waiting, Francois, enough with all of this. Where is the hashtag for today for my coffee? Well, there you go. Hashtag raise the bar. So you can comment hashtag raise the bar in any comment, and then we will do a lucky draw at the end, and you stand the chance of winning some amazing coffee from Colombo Coffee. So thank you very much to Colombo. And if I can just get over there, there you go. So there's Colombo Coffee and Tea. They're over in Durban. So do check them out. You can visit their website as well. But they are the kind sponsors, if you will, of the coffee that we give away in this show. All right. Happiness, ladies and gents. On that note, let's get into today's episode, and let's talk about, what are some better metrics to be chasing, and better metrics, I guess, to be really showcased if you want to promote anything about your business and to say how successful you are. Then maybe these are better metrics to think about. Alrighty, so let's get into this. I always start off with let's get into this. I already said we should. Let's do that. First of all, let me just position this a little bit and sort of where this comes from, because it is important. Now, I spend a lot of time online, and I see all sorts of different posts and people celebrating and doing things like that. And something that's really caught my attention over the last while is how many people are celebrating that they've had their best month ever. it's a record month. It is all about the money or whatever the measures of production are. And I'm just thinking like, you know what, things have really moved along. They are not where they used to be. When we focus so much on the client's money, then I guess measuring our own success and celebrating our own success, especially out in the public, around our monetary success, I don't think that we're there anymore. I think that things have moved along completely. I mean, is it really amazing for a client to see on social media that, wow, this person has done his best month ever and they're traveling and they're on this sort of overseas trip, or they've gone to this amazing get together, or they've just done all of these amazing things. And yeah, I am just trying to make a living and I'm trying to survive in many cases. So I'm wondering if there's not a disconnect between the two. And it's definitely something to think about. And then the thought sort of sprung, and this happened while I was driving, by the way. I was just thinking over this. And then I was thinking like, what if we were sharing other metrics to celebrate our success? What about other things that might be more important to our clients and that they will connect with and say, yeah, my financial advisor or my financial planning firm has my best interest truly at heart. It's not just them who's doing well. You know what? They genuinely care about me. They don't just care about all the other stuff. And this is sort of where today's episode came from. Now, in my mind, as I said earlier, things have definitely moved along. We're focusing much more on the human side, on the person. The value now is, I mean, in yesterday's discussion, it's like there's AI and other things that are doing all the technical stuff behind the scenes. So if your value is built around the analysis you do, the calculations you do, that's going to really be diminished over time. There's not going to be much value in there because there's machines that can do it faster, that can analyze and identify trends that you and I may be missing. So the value lies in being able to have a proper conversation with the client and to really uncover what it is that is driving them, what they're thinking, and then I think more importantly, getting them involved in the process and engaged in the process as we've spoken about before. That's the most important part here. Now, if we want to do that, and if that's where things are moving, isn't that maybe more the measures that we should be tracking? Isn't that more the measures that we should be celebrating? Isn't that more the measures that we should be marketing to say this is how effective and great our firm is? So just some questions that I'm asking, like, isn't that a better approach and a better way for us to do things going forward? It's very, very important that, as things move along, that we move along with it. But our businesses and the way we run our businesses, the way we structure our businesses should also move along. So very, very important. And then obviously, I think there's definitely some things that are, applicable in South Africa, for example, that might not even be an issue in America or Australia or the UK or Europe or any of those places. We all have our unique circumstances. There's certain things. I mean, I was reading an article yesterday where Michael Kitches was, or that he shared, he didn't write it, but I think he shared it, and was talking about like that in the long term, fee-based is better. Fees are better. But in South Africa, is that a feasible thing? Fees. So that's something that, maybe yes, as a concept will be great in a place like America, in a place like South Africa, maybe not yet. So there's all these things that we need to consider. But the things I want to share with you today, there's loads of things that we can definitely think about and do differently, and we can start to track and say, but how well are we doing these things? Because remember, like, there's one thing that I'm always saying, if you do the right thing for the right reason with the right intention, everything else will follow. And these metrics that I want to share with you today, I believe definitely follows those three things. It's the right thing, right? In the right way with the right intention. So they should lead to increased business and success, etc. Right. So let me get into the details, because probably you're sitting there. I hope you're going to be making notes, and let's see what I have to share with you in terms of this. So the first thing is, are you measuring client satisfaction? Right? How satisfied are your clients? But not just that, like, why is it even important to do that? I think is maybe the better starting point. It's like, why should I even care about that? Now, most of us would probably go like, because it's business. And because I do business, it's obviously important that my client is satisfied. Because financial planning is a long-term game, it is usually based on long-term relationships. Although we see the changes happening where some people just want a rubber stamp. They don't want a long-term relationship with you. They just want a trust relationship and know that when they want to do anything, they can pay you an amount, and then for that amount, you will be able to give them advice or be able to say yes or no, you're on the right track or you're not. And you just basically there's something to check themselves, but they want to do their own thing. So there's also sort of that part of the market that's opening up a bit more and more. But in general, at this point in time, long-term relationships, that's where it's at. And in fact, there are some firms that unless you're willing to enter into a long-term relationship with them, they're not interested. I think that's a mistake because you never know when things change and you can have two different value propositions. But anyway, got nothing to do with client satisfaction. So first of all, what is client satisfaction, right? So it's simple. It is how happy a client is with what they're getting from you. So do they feel done in, or do they feel they're getting more than they pay for? You know, and I guess those are the two extremes that we need to think about when it comes to client satisfaction. So are we really delivering so that this client will never go anywhere? You know, if you really need to go through your list of clients and you were to go and rate, like the other day, we were talking about the trust equation in another session on PROpulsion, and it's a very strong measure to measure any relationship and to gauge where you are and to really identify why is the relationship not the way that you think it is, or the way you think it should be. So that's an important point. So we need to go think about those things, right? But how do we sort of gauge whether clients are satisfied or not? Well, the first thing is that obviously you need feedback. And I wonder sometimes, like, how often do we ask feedback? And how often does somebody click the link in your signature saying, please rate my service? You know, do they really do that? Or is this a sort of a process that must be driven, or a campaign that must be driven, you know, once a year, twice a year, to actively ask for feedback from clients? And there's many different ways that you can get those. And I'll share some of those a little bit later. But it is very, very important, because unless we do that, we're not going to understand our clients' unique needs. We might think we do. And the moment you think anything, it's very dangerous. You think you know everything there is to know about financial planning, very dangerous. You think you can't learn anything anymore, very dangerous. You think you know everything about your client, you really know your client, then it's dangerous. So it's very important that we always keep an open mind and say, there's some things I don't know. And even if you have 5 meetings where you get the same information, you keep digging, because I promise you there's things that you don't know, and there's things that clients are not sharing with us. That's very, very important. Now, it is very important to know, or to use this feedback as the metric to gauge how satisfied a particular client is. So not only are we seeing what are their unique needs so we can adjust to that, but we also say, so how happy are they now with what we are doing for them, as I mentioned earlier. Now, there's some great effective methods that you can use for this. The first one is that you can obviously do personalized surveys. And there's many ways to do this. And often I think we don't do this because it takes a lot of time and effort to design these initially. But once you have it, it's so easy. And these surveys, particularly if it's online surveys, what you can do is actually have like a dynamic kind of survey where, dependent on the answer, it goes to a different option, or it asks more questions depending on the rating, for example. But these are important ones. So personalized surveys are very, very important. Then also in-person or virtual meetings, you know, get somebody from your office, it doesn't have to be you, to set up meetings with clients and go through a interview sort of with the client to ask maybe 5 or 10 very specific questions, record those and use that feedback. So you can also do it that way. It's almost like the old, you know, people would phone you and say, I'm phoning on behalf of this company, please can we do a bit of a marketing survey with you? And it's sort of the same thing, but I think we can do it so much better. So that's that. And then also online review platforms. If you think about how people rate you on places like Facebook or, you know, on Google, etc. So those are all different ways. And we can all drive people to go, please go rate our service, go rate our service. We must prompt them. There must be a call to action, because otherwise they won't do. You know, it's interesting that whenever you ask somebody something, they typically respond. If you don't ask, then they don't respond. So just an interesting thing. Then it's very important that obviously once you get that information, that it is analyzed, right? You need to look at those, sit with your team and go through those and see, for that particular client, but then also as an aggregate. So look at all of the responses together. So I think it's important to look at both. You can't just look overall, are clients overall satisfied with us? Because you might have that one big, very important client that is not happy, but that would get lost in the sea of all the other feedbacks who are happy. So you've got to look at them individually, and you have to look at them then as an aggregate as well. So just very, very important that you analyze this. And then, it doesn't help us analyzing, identifying something, say, oh, that's interesting, and then we do nothing about it. So you have to also take action on what it is that you found during the analysis. And the reason why I want to do that is obviously I want to improve my client satisfaction score. I want to improve my services. I want to grow my business. I want to be more successful. And that's why we want to do that. You will be able to take the feedback, and when you take the action and you do the improvement, you'll be able to connect the feedback that you got to the business's growth. So at the onset, so when you get the feedback now, you will be able to draw a line, a parallel line between, like, this is how satisfied my clients is and this is my growth rate. Because typically the higher the satisfaction, the higher the growth rate should be, right? If not, there's something else missing. And the same would be if I'm not growing and my clients are not satisfied, that's a very clear indication that that's the case. But it is important because there's certain things that we can measure. So things like client retention rates. Are we keeping clients? Are we losing clients? What's happening in that space? Whenever there's a change in your business, are clients leaving? Are they looking for an excuse to leave? So maybe they feel too bad, but whenever something changes, this, here's my out. That's something that could have been picked up a little bit earlier. And then it can also lead to more referrals, right? So because happy clients tend to tell other people about it, to say, look, go there. And then that all leads to sustainable growth. So that's all the stuff that's linked to client satisfaction. Now, think about, just at the back of your mind, I'm sharing what you can track, but then let's say we start promoting this on social media and in our newsletters and in the media in general, or on our website, that how satisfied our clients are. Isn't that a bigger draw for a prospective client than saying, wow, we've won this trip, or wow, we've had our best month ever? They couldn't care less, in my opinion. Well, I don't care at all about that. Some other people might be different, but that for me is not the most important. This is most important. So that's the first one, client satisfaction. All right. And I'm going to talk about a very specific measure in a second, or in a minute, maybe a minute or two, that you can use for this. So first one, well, not first one, let me first get to what about things like how many of your clients are actually achieving their goals or are progressing well towards their goals? Because those are important, right? So you want to get to a point where you say, we're putting all these plans in place. Our clients are happy, but that's not all. Look at the results that we're attaining. And when I say this, I'm not talking about things like performance figures and, we got 13% growth and whatever. That's not what it's about. It's about how your client achieving that lifestyle that they set out to achieve. How well are they looked after when things go wrong? Are they able to go on those holidays? Are they able to do the other stuff? That's the measures that I'm talking about when I say tracking goal achievement. So those are very important. Again, it's very important. Like, those words come out of my mouth a lot. But it is important to understand that, look, every client have their own goals. As soon as you zoom out and you start looking at everybody's goals, you'll find that there's a lot of similarity and there's probably pockets of goals in your business. But ultimately, for that client, that is their goals. It's a customized goal that's just tailored to their specific situation. So that's important. And you want to do that because the way that you go about engaging with that client and the way that you deal with that client, it's going to be a little bit different maybe than the next client. Somebody who wants to go on a holiday to Cape Town versus somebody who wants to go on a around the world in 80 days tour is quite a different sort of approach and probably a different type of client. So that approach will be different. It's important that you have a goal setting process, and maybe that's something to talk about, So to say, well, look, so many of our clients are ahead of their expected progress for their goal. So many of our clients have achieved their goals, etc. But it's all because we have a proper goal setting process. Maybe that's something to rather promote and market and say, like, how many people have gone through this process. But it is very important that we explain these steps to our clients. that we make sure that, one, we understand their needs. We determine, like, let's say, for example, their approach to risk or all of those kind of things. And then I think the most important one, because often, Tony Robbins says we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in a decade. And that's the thing. We're all very bad at estimating time. So the better we get at helping people estimate realistic timelines, the better. But that's all part of the goal setting process. And that's something that can set you apart. If you're able to do that very well, it's something you can track. It's something that you can market your business on. Then obviously monitoring of that, very important. Again, you're going to have a lot of metrics to say, look, by this time we thought we're going to be here. We are there. We're ahead. Maybe we're a little behind, whatever it is. But that's something that one can track, and you can adjust your strategies and you can celebrate the milestones and so forth, as you reach them. But what is very, very important is that if you have goal achievement as a metric, but also not just goal achievement, for me, it's the journey, it's the progress. So it's maybe goal achievement against different milestones that you set. So mini goals within the bigger goal and how you're tracking towards that. But it is a measure of how effective the planning is that you do, how effective the advice is that you do, how many of your clients actually stick to that, and how many of your clients are looking at or are committed to the process. So very important. And at the end of the day, all of that will also lead to satisfaction from a client's point of view. Now, how can I measure this? I think one of the biggest things is, like, you always, like, since you've started in this business, that the business is basically built on referrals. Whenever I ask anybody, what is your greatest way of marketing? It comes down to word of mouth. And if you want people to refer you, you've got to sort of gauge whether they will do so actively. In other words, will they do it without you asking? Are they passive? So if you ask them, they may. If you don't ask, they won't. And then there are some people who are just not going to do it at all. Doesn't matter whether you ask or not. And in that, there's quite a few things that we can look at. So there's something called the Net Promoter Score. I'm not sure who of you know about the Net Promoter Score, but the Net Promoter Score is very important. And also it links directly to probably something like client retention. It's something that we'll also look at now. The Net Promoter Score is very simple, right? It's one question. And you'll see this a lot in things. And now maybe, if you didn't know about this, you would have seen this quite a few times. Like, how likely are you to promote or to tell others about our business or to refer others to our business? That's the question. It's the only question. And there's a scale from 0 to 10, and you can choose a metric. Now, if you choose 9 or 10, you're seen as an active you're seen as a promoter. So you're an active promoter. Anything, I can't remember now out of my head, I think between 3 and 8, it's probably 5 and 8 is passive, and below that is a detractor. So it's somebody that doesn't want to promote your business or wouldn't promote your business. And then all of those scores are added together, and it's shown usually as a little dial graph, where there's a dial that says like how high it is. Anything above 80 is world class. And if you think about people like, I know, like ComSpace, for example, they have an over a 90% Net Promoter Score, which is amazing. You don't find that in tech. So it's absolutely incredible. So those things are very, very powerful, internationally recognized measure for this. So really something that you need to look at. And, if your Net Promoter Score is high, you get things like increased client loyalty, because those clients, if they're happy to promote you, why would they go anywhere else? And those that are not happy, you can engage with them. And I'll talk about some improvement strategies in a second. You get more word of mouth referrals, and you'll definitely build a strong reputation. So if you only promote the Net Promoter Score that you have, that's already a very strong thing for people to know and understand. So if your Net Promoter Score isn't that great, you don't have one, send that out to a client. How likely are you to refer us? That's only one question they need to answer. You don't need to worry about anything else. Most of the survey options do have a Net Promoter Score question built in, so you can use that. It's very simple. We ask it for all our events at the end. We ask, how likely are you? And it's great, so definitely something. And when you look at those stats, you can go to the people that are not giving you a great score and start delving deeper into why not. So if you want to improve your NPS score, Go directly to those people who are not giving you a great score. So address those things directly. It's very important. And ask more feedback. Try and figure out where the issue is. And then when you get that feedback, whether you like it or not, because that's the one thing I can tell you is that the easy part is asking for the feedback. The not so easy part is receiving the feedback, because it hurts sometimes, because you know the intention or you know what you tried to do. And these 80 people got it. Why did this 20 people not get it? But there's something missing. And unless you're willing to go and delve and scratch and figure out, you're not going to be able to improve. So just be aware of that. When it hits hard, but it's definitely worth it if you want to build your business. If I talk a little bit just about client retention rates, this is very important, as you know. It is hard to find new clients. There's more than enough clients, but if you really think about it, in South Africa, you can't go, we've over 60 million people, 66 million, 67 million people. How many people are paying tax? Because unless you're paying tax, you're not earning an income that would be viable to your business. So there's other things you can maybe do for the rest, but you're not going to make money off of that. So it is a much smaller base, I think, than we think. So when you do get a client and you have built a good relationship, you've invested a lot of time and effort and money probably into this, you do not want to lose that client. So very important that we think about how do we retain clients. And if we see, and with retention, I'm not talking about policies lapsing or investments being cashed in. I'm not talking about those measures. I'm talking about this client left me and they're not coming back, right? It might also be that a client is leaving me because they just can't afford to do what it is that we do. And then you can ask all sorts of questions around that. But ultimately, it is a client who's unhappy, who left. There's something wrong. And if that happens over and over again, I think it's inevitable to lose a client here and there. But ultimately, that is a very important thing to consider. If you want to improve your retention rates, right? And this is something that I'll also promote on social media to say, look, we keep 99% of our clients. As soon as you say 100%, people are going to go, nobody's that perfect. But if you keep 90% or 92 or 95 or whatever percentage it is, it's a very strong indicator to the market that, look, one, we're not perfect, but, the chances of you being happy is 9 out of 10. So that's very important. So this is a measure that you could work on. So either you need to improve it first and then promote it, or it's something maybe that you're already good at that you can promote from that point as well. Right. So if you want to improve it, what can we do? Well, be more proactive in your communication to clients, the way that you communicate, how often you communicate, the language you use in those communications. Often I read some of these communications, they're very technical or they're very smartly written, but they're not the language that I use in my normal day and how I would want somebody to explain things to me probably. And that's the important part. I always think about IT. If you phone in to any IT business and you ask for help, the way they speak to you is like, I don't even know why I phoned. And I think we're sometimes guilty of doing exactly the same thing with our clients. But being proactive in your communication, in other words, also communicating with the client when there's a problem before they can realize there's a problem. If you know you messed up, let them know you messed up, for example. All of these things are things that will build trust and help with your client retention. Also, regular check-ins. I chatted to somebody in the week, which was quite interesting, for their top clients, they call it their A clients. They do quarterly check-ins. Just how is it going? So not a review, just a check-in. The advisor phoning himself. How are you? Are you doing well? That kind of thing. With other segments in your business, you might do it twice a year. And with some of them, you just do the review. And maybe you communicate via email or WhatsApps or whatever the other case may be. But that's something that you should consider about being more in touch more regularly from that point. And the reason is, and this is where things like, if you use Seed Analytics, for example, to send out monthly statements, you might think it's not valuable, but trust me. And there's the thing that because I'm getting from my advisor, I'm getting a monthly statement for my stuff. And it feels like this. You can't believe how quick a month goes. And it's just, here's an update again. Here's an update again, but it's once a month. But he stays top of mind because I get that email and it's so little work from his perspective to get that to me. The information is very valuable. So those are the kind of things that you want to think about. How can I sort of, do a couple of things in one go? So on the one hand, how do I communicate and be in touch with my client? And then on the other hand, how do I add value And then if you add value, the chances of them opening those communications and those things are very, very valuable. So particularly with your B, C, D clients, maybe, if you have something like that in place, it helps quite a bit to stay in touch. And then also offering value-added services. This might be just for different segments or different services for different segments, but you can do more than what is expected. That's really when the thing is. Somebody asked me many, many years ago, how was I so successful as a broker consultant? My answer was simple, is that just, do what others are not willing to do and do what it takes. So that doesn't mean like there is a very, very thick line. It's not even a fine line. There's a thick line between being abused by your financial advisor and being misused, right, to do also things that's not your role and not your job. And there's a very fine line between like breaking the rules, right? You don't want to break the rules, but it is like when others are not willing to help with, in my days, F&As, for example. I did F&As and we helped with that kind of planning. I sort of taught them on things that wasn't part of my job. I helped them with IT, which wasn't part of my job. So there were loads of things that I could add value that was not expected and no other broker consultant did. And that resulted in me being very, very successful. So those are the main things, I believe. If you want to measure client retention, this is something you can do actively. Like if you look on your CRM, how many clients you had beginning of this month, how many clients at the end of the month, all of those kind of things, or the beginning of the year, end of the year, quarterly, however you want to track that, but do that. And if you lose a client, just keep record of that, even if it's in Excel. Just do that so that we lost so many clients, and you can look at that. So don't go, oh, we have a net growth of 50 clients because we got 50 clients and lost 10. So we actually grew by 60 clients, but we lost 10. Like, you want to know about those 10. That's very important. Righty, then just quickly, the financial planning implementation and client engagement measures, I think, is another thing that we can look at. How many of your clients, after you've given them advice, goes ahead and implements the advice that you've given? That's crucial, because we all know without implementation, there is no results. So if we can't get clients to implement, then what does it help that we do what we do? So that's a measure that I would want to see on social media, is to say, look, so one, this is how many clients, we've retained most of our clients. We have most of our clients implement our advice, and then, they grow and they progress and they're ahead of where we thought they would be. So we're beating the plan at this point in time. I like the guys from Money and Medicine always saying, like, plan the plan. What about beating the plan, right? That's the next step. So once you've planned the plan, let's beat the plan. But that is something that I would want the world to know about. And these things are much more valuable to a client than it is to say, great stuff, we had our best month ever. So those are quite important. How can we improve this? Because I think often some of the reasons why people maybe don't want to implement is maybe because they don't understand, maybe because they're not really committed, maybe there's no trust. There can be a whole host of things there that could cause people not to implement. And we need to go delve deeper into that, like what's causing them not to take that next step. And if you want to improve that, it is really just, let's just simplify everything. Let's just make things easier and less. Instead of giving them a report this thick, give them a 1 or 2 or 3 pager so that they can follow and understand, because that's their version. Don't get confused between what we give the client and what we need for compliance. Those are 2 separate things. The client only needs this. We need all the other stuff. So let's make a distinction between those 2. The other thing that I would want is to see more client engagement, right? So I'm not 100% sure of how to gauge client engagement, apart from how active are these clients in our meetings. So how much questions are they asking? How much are they contributing solutions or possible solutions or ideas to the conversation? So there's no other way to really do this. It's not, do they follow me on social media? Do they like my post? Do they comment on my... That's got nothing to do with that. In your financial planning meetings, how engaged are they? Are they sitting there and we are delivering everything to them, and then they go, Francois, you tell me? Or are they like, no, I don't agree with you. What about it? What if we do this? What if we do that? Is that the kind of engagement? So that's something that I would want to track. But unfortunately, that's going to be probably a manual way of tracking their engagement. And just thinking about how active are your clients in these discussions. So those are very important ones. And then ways to, I think, improve that is obviously through things like education over time with clients, etc. So those are definitely something. So if you think about all of this stuff, right? So instead of going, oh, we've had our best month ever, we won like this thing, and it is great, like we have financial planner of the year, we have financial planning firm of the year, we have different practices that become practice of the year, franchise of the year. So there's all of these things, and they are great and they are important, because I guess hopefully there's more measures going into it than just how much production that they produced, which I don't have access to, so I don't know what they're being tracked on, but I do hope that that's the case. But instead of just focusing on those things, I'm not saying don't promote this, but that should be one part of all of these other things that you are promoting as well. So it should be about client satisfaction. It should be about implementation. It should be about engagement. It should be about your net promoter score. It should be about all of those, and saying, look, this is how many of our people implement. This is how they progress. This is how many of our people reach their goals. And this is what makes it special at our financial planning firm. Alrighty, so let's do the lucky draw. And let me just first maybe look at the comments and see what happened. There's a couple of raise the bars. Let's see what Kuba says. These days, let me just do this. I these days simply measure my client satisfaction by observing my persistency with clients on the books, as well as business that stay on the books with over 98%. I could not be happier. That's amazing, Quibus. So that is a great way to do that. And then let's see, Carl says you also help the other broker consultants do their CFP. Yeah, many days, like many years ago, right? So yeah, awesome. Alrighty, so let's do the, oops, wrong button. There we go. So if you're not in, so we've got 7 people in the draw at the moment. So if you want to get in, hashtag raise the bar, as you can see there on the screen. If you quickly want to post that, then we're going to do a lucky draw. So just for those of you that don't know, this is completely automated. Like, I don't have any input. I don't know who's going to comment. It's all done on the server by the provider of the live streaming software. So we've got no input, no control over anything. This is pure luck. And so let's see today who is going to win this. Right, so I don't see any more entries. So I'm going to go and do the draw. Right, so let's see. Who will it be? Who will it be? Mary. There you go. Mary, well done. Thank you very much. Very, very happy for you. I will be sending you some information and a video on WhatsApp. So do look out for that. And then we wish you all a fantastic long weekend. So those of you that are not, I've got a working long weekend. So there's no rest for the wicked. We've got many things still to do for the Global Financial Planning Conference. But next week, we're back. Next week, we start having guests again. So really looking forward to that. And well, next month, rather. And there's loads of things in the works. So looking forward to a great May, and with none of these freaking public holidays, because it is not doing us any favors. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I deeply appreciate you. If you watch the recording, thank you. If you really like what we do, please like and subscribe, like this video or this episode or all our other episodes. And it really helps us to get the word out there. But stay safe, be blessed, and prosper, and continue to raise that bar. Thank you very much. Love you. Bye-bye.